Hello class, my name is Seth Taylor. I'm here to present on the Who Was series of books, which are a great historical reference for children about 7 to 12 years of age who want to study historical facts, historical people, things of that nature. So children of this age group are typically in Jean Piaget's period of concrete operations, which during this period children start reading chapter books and begin thinking more logically, and the Who Was books are designed with this age group in mind, as the language used in the books attempts to relate to their interests and way of speaking. The language is suited for children of this age. It's simple, it's not too complicated, but it does have some decently deep ideas. Accompanying the biographies is factual information about history, culture, religion, literature, mechanics, science, and many other topics, and they're instructive even for adults on some of the points. So for this review, I have chosen 5 persons of interest. I chose Maurice Sendak, and Benjamin Franklin. Got Mark Twain, Martin Luther King Jr., and lastly Albert Einstein. The books are about 100 pages each in length and have around 8 to 15 chapters. They all begin with an exciting introduction and broad summarization of the person of interest, which sort of briefly answers the book's title question, who was, for example, Albert Einstein? Did you know that Albert Einstein was a very poor student who got kicked out of school? Well, he was. Yet he was one of the most brilliant people that the world has ever known. Did you know that Albert was a peace-loving person who hated war? Well, he was. Yet his work led to the creation of the most destructive bomb ever. Did you know that Albert was shy and hated publicity and attention? Yet he was a media superstar. Even now, 50 years after his death, Hollywood still makes movies about him, and t-shirts, coffee mugs, and posters are decorated with pictures of his famous face. Who was Albert Einstein? You are about to find out. So there's a little sample of one of the introduction summaries that the books begin with. The books tend to begin with the earliest years of the lives of their subjects and set them in the context of their culture and their historical background as well. This allows readers to get an idea of what influenced the subject in the early years of their lives and sort of caused them to become who they became later on. As in the case of Martin Luther King Jr., his father was definitely against segregation and racism, and he instilled that in Martin from an early age, and Martin resolves to accomplish his dream from, having to sit on, or having to be forced to stand on a bus with his mother on a long ride, and having separated drinking fountains and separated schools. He lost his best friend because they weren't allowed to play anymore because of just their skin color. So the book talks about these sort of details of their biographies to give the reader a setting or a context from which to understand how they became who they became. The Who Was illustrations are also informative and descriptive. Also, they're artistic, and some of them have a comical touch. If you look in Maurice Sendak's book, you can see it's artistic. It gives you a picture of New York in the early 20th century, and it also is creative and shows us a picture of some of the imaginative aspects of his childhood in this picture here. The Who Was illustrations are also informative, and they focus on specific aspects of the story in order to drive the reader, to give the reader a mental picture of something that they may never see, such as Ben Franklin's Leyden jar or a colonial printing press, things that I've never heard of and they're not common in our day and age to see. So there's a Leyden jar, and with nice little descriptions. And then here's a pretty detailed explanation of a printing press with labels and sort of explaining how things function. Also accompanying the biographical text are side notes which describe the supporting and especially the detailed information that is not suited to the broader biographical text. In Martin Luther King's biography, we find a section on Gandhi, which gives a short summary of who Gandhi was and what he did a few decades before Martin Luther King was doing his thing. And there's also, an explanation of Einstein's theory of relativity, Ben Franklin's kite and the key experiment, so different things are explained throughout. The Who Was books are great resources for students studying history, and they can be utilized in the classroom easily. They're a little bit long, and the illustrations are nice. They're not color, the paper quality is a little cheap, but it's a great series overall. It really provides some great biographical information for children from in the early to later years of elementary school. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed.